You have a very unique management style, and I hope you'd share a little bit about some of the thoughts of some of the guidance that you've given the young folks.
Yeah. Well, this first quote you guys chose, you don't choose your passions choose you. And I would always advise young people, actually anyone, to get in touch with what you're really passionate about. And it's a gift to have a passion. Some people are lucky they have more than one passion, they have 2 or 3. And that gives you energy. You can't force a passion on yourself. It just doesn't work. You can try, but it's unlikely to succeed. Take pride in your choices, not your gifts. This is something that I think is super important for young people to understand, and for parents to preach to young people. It's really easy for a talented young person to take pride in their gifts. They can say, I'm really athletic, or I'm really smart, or I'm really good at math. And that's fine. You should celebrate your gifts. You should be happy, but you can't be proud of them because they're gifts after all. They were given to you. What you can be proud of is your choices. How did you decide to use your gifts? Did you study hard? Did you work hard? Did you practice? The people who really excel combine gifts and hard work. And the hard work part is a choice. You get to decide that. And that is something, when you're looking back on your life, you'll be very proud of. Amazon has 14 leadership principles, and this is the one that often catches people a little by surprise, because one of our leadership principles is that good leaders are right a lot. And it sounds kind of like, well, great, but is there some way that I can practice being right a lot? And you're not going to be right all the time, but I do think with practice, you can be right more often. And I've observed people who are right a lot, and I notice a few things about them. The first is that people who are right a lot, they listen a lot. And people who are right a lot change their mind a lot. And people who are right a lot, they seek to disconfirm their most profoundly held convictions, which is very unnatural for humans. So humans mostly, as we go about life, we're very selective in the evidence that we let seep into us. And we like to observe the evidence that confirms our pre-existing beliefs. And people who are right a lot work very hard to do that unnatural thing of trying to disconfirm their beliefs. And by the way, changing your mind a lot is so important. You should never let anybody trap you with anything you've said in the past, because that is life is complicated, the world is complicated, and sometimes you get new data. And when you get new data, you should change your mind. By the way, sometimes you don't get new data, and you just reanalyze the situation, and you realize it's more complicated than you initially thought it was, and you change your mind. This is something, it's frustrating to watch, and I will not get into politics here tonight, but it's frustrating to watch politicians because they're almost not allowed to change their mind. As soon as they change their mind, they get accused of being flip-floppers. When reality is, anybody who doesn't change their mind a lot is dramatically underestimating the complexity of the world that we live in.
Our interns picked these two out.
Okay, be stubborn on vision and flexible on details. You really can't accomplish anything important if you're not stubborn on vision, because things that are important take a long time. They take teams. You can't do it by yourself, and so you really need to have a crisp idea of the vision. You need to stay incredibly relentless on that vision, but you need to be flexible on the details, because you've got to be experimental to accomplish anything important. And that means you're going to be wrong a lot. And so you're going to try something on your way to that vision, and that's going to be the wrong thing, the wrong decision. You're going to have to back up, take a little course correction, and try again. And so you cannot be stubborn on the details. You have to be flexible on the details. Yeah. And then the last one there is failure and invention. Yeah, failure and invention are inseparable twins. Everybody wants to be inventive. If you go talk to corporate America or any institution, actually, government agencies and so on, innovation is something to be proud of. People like invention. But the problem is they don't like failure. And you cannot have invention without failure. to know where, if you already know it's going to work, it's not an experiment. And only through experimentation can you get real invention. The most important inventions come from trial and error with lots of failure. And the failure is critical, and it's also embarrassing. And so that's why people, when we're kids, we always are doing trial and error, and we're never embarrassed. You know, you watch a little toddler, and they will try for hours to put a square peg in a round hole, and it never works. But it doesn't keep them from trying. And they try things like that, and that's how they learn. And we all have that when we're little, and then as we get older, somehow it's not as cool as you get older to fail and to fall down. It looks clumsy, and so we get in our grooves. We have a set of expertise and skills. It's kind of a comfort zone, and you have to constantly push yourself to say, no, I don't care about failure. In fact, if you're not, I say at Amazon, we have to grow the size of our failures as the size of our company grows. We have to make bigger and bigger failures, because otherwise none of our failures will be needle movers. And so I would see it as a very bad sign over the long run if Amazon wasn't making larger and larger failures. And if you do that all along the way, that is going to protect you from ever having to make that big, kind of Hail Mary bet that you sometimes see companies make right before they fail and go out of existence.
Terrific. I have one more of these, and as a Boeing guy, I have to comment on two pizza teams.
Yeah, well, two pizza teams is something that we've been preaching at Amazon almost from the very beginning, and it's a simple idea, which is no team should be so large that it cannot be fed with just two pizzas. And so obviously to do great things you need big teams, but you need to subdivide them. And the reason that it's so helpful is because there's a natural, we humans grew up around campfires and telling each other stories, and you're sitting at tables tonight that have about 10 people at each table. 10 people, maybe 12 people, is the perfect size to have a natural human coordination without a lot of structure. And if you want to have a big group of 100 people or 500 people organized, you have to have a lot of structure to make that work. And so if you can arrange to do big things with a multitude of small teams, and that takes a lot of effort to organize that way, but if you can figure that out, the communication on those small teams will be very natural and easy. And then 6-page memos in lieu of PowerPoints. Many, many years ago now, we outlawed PowerPoint presentations at Amazon. It was probably the smartest thing we ever did. It's incredibly effective. We replaced them with 6-page, narratively structured memos. And so we have the weirdest meetings at Amazon. When we hire new executives, they are shocked by how we run our meetings, because they come in and we all sit around the conference room table, maybe a dozen people in the meeting, and we do half an hour of study hall, and all of the executives are just quiet. We just quietly read the 6-page memo together in the same room, taking margin notes. And then after half an hour, we discuss the memo. And it's so much better. Before we started doing this, we were doing the more traditional thing. Junior executive comes in. They put a huge amount of effort into developing a PowerPoint presentation. They put the third slide up, and whoever's the most senior executive in the room has already interrupted them, thrown them off their game. They're asking questions about what's going to be presented on slide 6 if they would just be quiet for a moment. Plus, the slides obscure information, because when you take, the great thing about memos and English language memos is they have verbs and sentences and topic sentences and complete paragraphs. And by the way, that is harder for the author, but it also forces the author to clarify their own thinking. And so it totally revolutionized the way we do meetings at Amazon, and it's been very, very helpful to us. I would recommend to anyone, we're adopting and have almost adopted that practice at Blue Origin as well. There's still a few PowerPoints that sneak in at Blue Origin, but I'm working on it.